1980X is a true love letter to the 1980s and gaming in general. Not only that, but the game also aims to tell a story that we're all pretty familiar with. The pains, and sometimes awkwardness, of growing up. Developer Hybrid Studios put together games within a game here, with this package consisting of a beat-em-up, racing, an old-school RPG, a ninja action game, and a shoot-em-up. But how does this all play, look, and feel on the Nintendo Switch? Danny from the Famicast here, and this is our review of 1980X on the Switch. 1980X takes place in the burbs, outside of the city, starring Kid. Now, Kid is a high schooler who's dealing with the pains of growing up and trying to fit in 1980X. And by happenstance, Kid happens to come across this old arcade and finds that the lure of gaming is a real good way to escape the doldrums of life. A majority of the experience in 1980X will be taking you through the 5 previously mentioned games, but what you get in between are some pretty heavy story beats that most gamers can relate to. To top off the story, each of these scenes are beautifully animated with some awesome sprite work. It's really a visual treat, as you can see here. The game also features voice acting and an amazing soundtrack here too. As for the arcade games themselves, they're all very simple to get into, but can offer a decent amount of challenge. Now, the beat-em-up section takes obvious influence from the genre's best and brightest. You can jump, kick, throw, and even do special spin kick, which I found out at the very end of my playthrough of this particular game. Controls here are pretty tight and responsive too. Enemies aren't overly difficult, and the pacing of this section of the game actually felt just about right to me. As with other titles in the genre, you can rest easy. You can still find cheeseburgers and garbage cans and the like to replenish your health, just like in real life. Visually, the chunky sprites here look great and animate really smoothly. The racing arcade game looks absolutely fantastic. You start in a desert area while racing towards a city on the horizon. The further you get, the closer you get to the city, changing the visuals drastically. Controls here are very easy to get the hang of too. You have a button for gas, brakes, and obviously you can steer with the control pad or stick. Now, you're running against the clock here, so you have to navigate through traffic and curves to reach a checkpoint. It's pretty standard stuff, but it all feels and looks pretty amazing. Now, the RPG puts you in a maze where your goal is to reach and defeat 3 dragons. Along the way, you'll encounter a variety of enemies that are trying to keep you away from said dragons. Battles themselves give you 4 options: slash, hack, beam, and heal. Now, each enemy type and colors have certain weaknesses, and the more you play, you figure out which attacks work best on which enemies. Now, even if you die, you start right back at the beginning of the maze with your previous paths revealed on a small map, which you can see in the upper left-hand side here. Now, even if you're finding it tough to get past certain enemies, you will be leveling up and learning what works against your foes, so you will eventually be powerful enough to get through. Now, the whole package here feels, again, awesome, and the big sprites are creepy and yet fitting for this portion of the adventure. The shoot 'em up puts Kid into a horizontal scrolling shooter, and there's a basic shot, but also the ability to charge the shot to deal out more damage. Various pickups that boost things like speed and firepower are also spread out throughout the stages. You have 3 lives per run, and you're able to take several hits before being blown to smithereens. Now, once all 3 lives are spent, you'll have to start over again from the start of this particular game. So you have to kind of redo the whole thing. It's not very long, so it's not a big deal. Ship sprites here are also very detailed, colorful, and look pretty great. There's also a good variety of enemy types, which definitely will keep you on your toes. While I really did enjoy this addition to the overall game, I did find this one to be the most challenging of them all. It's tough, but fair, though. Probably my favorite of the arcade games had to be the ninja game. Now here, you're in control of a masked character that is constantly moving forward, slicing through a variety of enemies. You have a basic attack, a slide, and a jump. Now, on top of taking out enemies, you'll also have to keep your eye on the environment, which also serves as kind of an enemy of sorts. Pits, spikes, spears can all wreck you pretty quickly if you aren't paying attention or aren't quick enough with your reactions. There are several levels in this arcade game that vary visually and that all ramp up at a pretty fair rate when it comes to difficulty. The animations here are pretty top-notch too. You can feel every slice, and you kind of wince in pain with every mistake you make, especially the fatal ones. Fortunately, even if your health is depleted completely, you are put back into the game pretty quickly here too, starting from the most recent checkpoint or start of a particular area that you're in. There's a ton of challenge here, but there's also a lot of fun here to be had. 1980X on the Switch is a real treat. The included 5 old school games are a blast to play, and the sprite work is amazing, and the music also is pretty fantastic here too. While it's true that the 1980s aesthetics are going to appeal greatly to players who grew up in the era, especially with the story beats and stuff like that too, they won't necessarily be lost on a younger generation of gamers. Now, the underlying story here revolving around the difficulties of growing up, I think this is something that can easily appeal to anyone here. It should be noted that the game is a little bit on the short side, with one complete playthrough probably taking somewhere around like an hour and a half to 2 hours. But this isn't it for 1980X though, as this is only part 1 of a 5-part series. Regardless of any of this stuff that I just said, if you like tight gameplay, great art design, with a touch of narrative, you should definitely give 1980X a shot, no matter what platform you play it on. Final score for 1980X on the Nintendo Switch, 8.5 out of 10. As always, thanks for checking out this video. If you like what you see, please feel free to give us a like. If you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe. We got tons of podcasts, video reviews, special videos, and a whole lot more. Again, this is Danny from the Famicast. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.